Hey everybody, in this video I am going to talk a little bit about some do's and don'ts for creating crisp lines while painting. So what I've got here are just a variety of brushes and a little bit of liquid acrylic paint. This goes for basically any type of paint. Primarily, what we're going to learn about is actually just learning how to control our brushes. So how are we going to use our brushes to their best ability? So first off, you want to note kind of the shape that your brushes are in already. Hopefully, like all the bristles should be together in one piece, making one solid shape. So this one is a little bit more beat up. So you can notice there's like little bristles kind of sticking out in different places. So we need to be aware of those as we're working. Hopefully once we get it wet or get some paint on it, that's going to kind of alleviate some of those problems. But I chose this brush because a lot of you might have some beat up brushes that you're working with. So the key to getting crisp lines is to take care of your brush so that it does what you want it to do. So first what I'm going to do is show you kind of a lot of the problems that I see when people are starting to work with painting and have some issues. So the biggest problems would be not treating the brushes well and also not having enough paint on the brush. So for example, if I just start with a dry brush and there's nothing else on it, I'll just start with this one because it's rougher. And there's not a lot of paint on the brush. When I create a line, you notice how it spreads across right away. So this is a sign that you don't have enough paint on your brush, and it's going to give you rough edges. Another issue that I see is putting way too much pressure on the brush and not in the right direction. So like if we hold it straight up and down and just kind of like go all over the place, we're going to end up with really rough edges. And then you notice how the bristles kind of spread apart. So that tells us that we're not treating it very well. And that could go for like a brush like this too. I see people like just destroy their brushes. Like obviously I'm not going to get a clean line if I'm just manhandling these bristles, right? Because that's not the way the brush is supposed to work. Obviously, if you're trying to make a nice texture, then this will work for you. So tips for getting a clean edge would be getting a little bit of water on your brush. You can dry it off just a little bit, but notice how the water puts all the bristles back where they're supposed to belong. And then you want to make sure you have enough paint on your brush, not so much that it's dripping, but enough that it's not going to spread apart. So when I am working with my brush, I want to pull my bristles, kind of keeping them in the same shape that they're supposed to be in. So, and then I stop painting once I start to see bristle marks. So when I see my bristle marks, it tells me I need more paint. I can just flip my brush over. I still have paint on the other side, and I can continue that line. And I can pull from other areas where I have more paint. But again, once I start to see bristle marks, it tells me I need some more paint. So I'm following the shape of my bristles. I'm not like smushing my brush, right? That's the quick way to destroy your brush. So don't spread those bristles out like that because that's not helpful. You want to keep them all together as much as possible. So that goes to show, so like this brush we were looking at earlier, if I get that wet, kind of dry it off a little bit, then I can get a nice crisp line by keeping my bristles all together and not smushing them apart, okay? Keep them all together. And we'll go with this brush too. If we get it wet and allow the brush to move in the direction it's intended, so we're not splitting the bristles apart, we're just keeping it all together. And every time you start to see your bristle marks, then you know you need to get more paint. So we'll just slowly add on. So here I can tell I need more paint, so I'm going to grab some more. So the key here is patience and delicacy. So you want to handle your brush nicely. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, just enough to kind of push the paint out of the bristles, but without like overdue force, right? Because we don't want to have a lot of force like that, unless if we're intending to create textures like that. So, all in all, the key to creating crisp lines and clean edges is keeping your bristles together, using not a lot of force, and pulling in the direction that your bristles go, so not pushing it and spreading them apart. Simple work, but once you know how to control your brushes, you can do a lot with your paint. Thanks for watching.